Eric Schiller is the third gray-haired professor at this table. And I can say that to him because I've known him for so many years, so I can tease him about it. He's a professor of civil engineering and worked at the University of Ottawa. He's retired now, like me. And he was also the head of the hydrology department, so has a very great interest in water. He's presently the technical advisor of WaterCan in Ottawa. He has done extensive developmental work in water and sanitation in Africa, Latin America, and the Middle East, as well as in Asia. And I keep running into him everywhere. Wherever there is human rights activities, he's there, and so that's how we become close co-workers and friends. And he's going to be addressing this from the point of view of the Quaker tradition.
Thank you, Kais. I could also mention I have a couple of degrees in theology too along the way, so I studied this a bit. I really enjoyed these past speakers. I'm sorry I have to interrupt it with my own introduction here. I want to talk about Quakerism. Quakerism finds its roots of nonviolence in an early Christian tradition. We go back to Jesus, and we see in him as a peacemaker. Let me just cite a few of his sayings that have come down to us, where he's reported to have said, "You have heard that it was said, an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth. But I say to you that you must not oppose those who want to hurt you. If people slap you on your right cheek, you must turn your left cheek to them as well." Wow. "You have heard that it was said, you should love your neighbor and hate your enemy. But I say to you, love your enemies and pray for those who harass you because of your faith, so that you will be acting as children of your Father who is in heaven." Now, as far as we know of Jesus, he actually practiced what he preached. He did not resist violently. He was taken prisoner and did not resist. In fact, right to his very death, he lived what he preached, and as he died, he said, "Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do." There's only one story where you may dispute this, where he reportedly overturned the tables in the temple, but even there he was attacking the system and not the people. Okay, that's Jesus. Now, how about what's the record of Christianity? And Antonio has pointed out very well, it's not very good at all. Christianity, of the three Western religions, along with Judaism and Islam, has been a pretty violent affair. We've had the Crusades against the Muslims. We've had the Inquisition to unbelievers, torturing and exterminating them. We've had various religious wars throughout Europe. And when the Christians went to Latin America and the conquistadors were there, the padres and the priests were hand in hand with their activities. And even in North America, in a manifest destiny which pushed the settlers west, there was a strong religious element. And all of this was Christianity at work. So I asked the question, how can this be? I just read you those sayings of Jesus and his life, and then I just told you about the horrible record of Christianity at work in the world. How did that happen? Well, we look back to an important event in the year 312. The early Christians, as far as we know, actually tried to live out the message of Jesus. They were marginalized, they refused to join the army, they were peaceful, there was no element of violence in their activity until they became such a successful movement that Constantine, the Roman Empire, thought, boy, there's some power here, and maybe I can tap into it. And he saw a vision of the cross. He was going to go to a battle with his opponent, and the vision said, "In this sign you shall conquer." And he said, "Good, I'm going forward in the sign of the cross," and he conquered. He became the first Christian emperor. And we as Quakers look upon that as the beginning of a lot of bad things that happened. And the lesson to be learned for us is beware of joining church and state, or spirituality and state, and getting in bed with state power. That's one lesson for us. Now, the reason we believe in nonviolence is that it comes from a fellow named George Fox in the 17th century. He was one of the many reformers. He was a person who became very disillusioned with the ruling Anglican Church. Found it to be sterile, ritualistic, and lost its inner spirit. And he searched for a new inner reality. He put it in terms of the Christ within. And he said, there's where the truth is. It is the spirit within which gives us meaning and direction. I think he didn't realize that what he was doing, he said, that will lead us in the future. Okay, he called it the Christ. But he then said, this spirit is in all mankind. And so this is carried on to today. We believe strongly there is that divine spirit in everybody. They may name it differently. George Fox named it the Spirit of Christ. They may name it the Spirit of Allah, the Buddha within, many other terms, but it's in everybody. Now, once you believe that, it's very hard to motivate people to go to war against the enemy, once that takes hold of you. George Fox, I think, also went back to the early example of Christ when he was thrown in jail a number of times for his beliefs that were very heretical and didn't agree with the ruling Anglican and Catholic Church. And at one time they offered him a commission in the army. And I think he went back to those early marginalized Christians of the first 3 centuries. That's where we take our template from. And said, no, they didn't do it. And he said, no, I will not take your commission. In fact, I will not engage you in your wars henceforth. He made a very dramatic speech, which has kind of become one of the things that we try and follow. So what am I saying? A lot of our beliefs came out of history, historical reality, and at present we're trying to put them into practice. A little bit of, so what? What does all this mean today? William Penn, founded the state of Pennsylvania in the United States. Right now you can't tell Pennsylvania from any other state, but in the beginning, he tried to make it different. It was called a holy experiment. One, he did not take land from the native people. He bargained with them and came to an agreement, and he bought it from them. Two, he would not allow any military activity in his state. So it was a holy experiment. It lasted for about 40 or 50 years, and then finally it became overcome with other people and became just like the other ones. But there was a genuine attempt to put this into practice. During the Second World War, the Quakers tried to work with both sides. And that wasn't easy in the heat of a global war. And as a result, in 1947, they got the Nobel Peace Prize for genuine peace attempts for both sides of the equation. Now, I just want to close by saying, yeah, that's nice, so what does it all mean well, about me today? Me today. Like most people in this panel, I've been involved in anti-war protests, but I have to be honest and say, knowing about the Second World War, Hitler rampaging through Europe, I was a little boy then, but I must admit I would be deeply challenged to practice pure pacifism in that context. I think of Dietrich Bonhoeffer, who was a deep, committed Christian who actually tried in a conspiracy to get rid of Hitler violently. They tried to blow up the room where he was. It failed, and Dietrich Bonhoeffer was executed. I have some sympathy with that. In that context. The trouble is, as a result of that World War II, people got the idea that the military is a wonderful way to resolve problems. And as Eisenhower said, the military-industrial complex did not go away, it became entrenched. And so we have ongoing wars where we jump too fast into military activity, especially the Vietnam War, the Somalian War, Iraq, Afghanistan, all of those Quakers would strongly resist to the point of going to prison, to the point of standing up and saying no. But I think we wouldn't be totally dogmatic about this. We're trying to be practical. But let's exhaust every other possibility before we take this dreadful step to war. That's kind of my position. I don't speak for all Quakers. There's no pope in the Quaker Church. We've all got our own ideas. But we do go back to these historical evidences. And that's my brief summary of Quakerism.